giving out this talk and telling people about that I was going to do a talk about trade show swag and how much stuff I had picked up from different shows. A lot of them were making jokes on the order of, oh, what, did you steal it? And at one point I realized I was getting too many of these jokes, and so I should probably explain that everything I'm doing in this talk is in fact on the up and up, with the exception of the story I'm about to tell you. At the first show that I went to, Cloud Expo, which I'll talk more about in a moment, there was one booth that had a pull a key out of the box, try to unlock the treasure chest that contains a little remote control helicopter in it. And, you know, I tried it, it didn't work. I was like, I have a set of lockpicks at home. Tomorrow I'll bring them and try it. The second day I had forgotten them, so I ended up saying the same thing. The third day, I brought the lockpicks, and I did not know how to use them. But as it turned out, towards the end of it, the guy who was actually at the booth was bored, and I was striking up a conversation with this other girl standing by the chest and saying, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know how this works, and started fishing through the container of keys, trying to find the one that would unlock it. And that is about the worst that I've done with any of this stuff. Everything else is strictly being polite and being a good little social engineer. And why is this not showing up? Come on, are you awake? So, just to introduce myself, my name is Rachel. I'm a recent graduate of Georgia Tech with a master's degree in human-computer interaction, and I work as a freelance interface designer. I started going to trade shows in the San Francisco Bay Area as a way to network and to fix that freelance problem. And so, spoiler alert, I haven't, but I did find out some other interesting stuff along the way, and so the first trade show that I went to, Cloud Expo, I had spoken with a friend who had been there in a previous year and had a promo code that I was also able to use to get into the show as on a free pass at what they called their VIP Gold Pass. And sorry, give me a moment here to... So this was my first conference. I didn't necessarily know what I was doing, other than I had gotten a set of business cards and I'm sorry. Yes, this was working 30 seconds ago. Could I please get some assistance? Yeah, so... I plugged in the computer in case it was a power issue, but I don't think it is. And so, I was there to network, I was there to have a good time, maybe get a few free drinks along the way, but I wasn't actually prepared for what I did find there, even though I was still, picking up little bits and pieces along the way. I think I had managed to win like a little $25 gift card from one booth, and I was picking up smaller pieces of swag from the other locations, and now it wakes up. Go figure. And if I could get this to work, I could actually show you pictures of some of the things I picked up. One of them was I had taken a couple pieces of swag. Like one company was giving away a little USB wall wart, another one was giving away the cable that you could use to switch between either charging an Android device or an iPhone device, and I ended up using it as an emergency charger during panels. So, but, you know, I was doing other things too. I was paying attention to Twitter, and because, you know, the expo floor was nice, but it wasn't open the entire time. Sometimes it closed and they expected you to go to panels, or it would close at the end of the day, and I was still waiting to get picked up by a friend, so I was trying to find certain events and parties after the show, and I was... I'm trying. I would like to talk. I would also like my thing to do because I have visuals that I'd like to show. And so I was searching on the hashtag that they were using on Twitter for Cloud Expo, and that's how this happened. Literally, I was following various companies that were at the show, and and one of the companies that I had followed was apparently running a contest that I had no idea about. But so apparently, yes. Yes, Okay, thank you. I would like to pause that. These are some sweet slides you're missing, so it is worth waiting. Speaking of swag, yes. Huh? Yes, I didn't win the case. I bought the case afterwards, after I actually made sure that I won this. I was supposed to have started before now. I was trying to do it had worked, and it was working initially, and then when I started the talk, it just...
What happened? Did it just drop the signal?
The computer's not responding. It's like, I know it has a charge. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Okay, it may just be displaying only. So if we do... Where is the display? External display. So what key do you normally hit to...
See if that helps.
That's fine by me. I'm just looking for the display key. Like, how do you normally tell it to display to a projector? Because it may just be that it's projected only on the second screen. So, let's do this.
Hold this, fine, but the second screen wasn't even working.
One moment. And we'll do, may I power off and recycle?
Yes. Hello. You haven't missed much.
What's your way?
Her laptop. Crap. It'll come back now, and we'll get it sorted.
All right, brilliant.
What happened?
It just it wigged out. It did not know what to do when we plugged in. My thought was
Join the British party?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, I think it actually.
The alcohol.
That obvious?
Not great.
Huh? But they've got good whiskey because they know the good stuff.
Thank you.
Oh, the cock of the good Scot.
Well, there you go. Start there. You have to do something.
I'm part Scottish. I never understood the whole Scottish
Really?
part.
Really?
Well, I know the Scottish part. Scottish history basically amounts to a bunch of warring clans against each other, and the British take the English take over.
Yeah. So when it comes up this time, what we might want to do is, I don't know how if you have normally a second monitor connected at home.
I don't.
Okay, so let's just try again and see if we get away with murder.
All right. No, don't open
And if
that.
that's
Quit.
really, okay, it's good.
Think about water disposal. You got
Quit
to
that,
pull
quit
the body
that.
up with the gas and start making it float up.
Ah.
So you have to weigh it down still, but even weighing it down because the float and the whole
Quit
water
that.
displacement, dead body was going to
So
float.
body disposal stinks. Got it.
Yeah, it has practical.
Open that.
You know, you run something through them a couple times, it lets the gases
That.
out. And
Great, but go with a meat tenderizer. Maybe a needler's little poke.
more neat. I think something like a sharpened reinforcement bar.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or a hammer. I'll do it.
Well, there you go. There we go. So, and good. It looks normal.
So,
Alright, let's see.
oh,
Yeah, because our
is the PA system working this time?
The PA system is hosed in this room, so speaking up and
hold on.
projecting.
I'm just in back listening. It sounds like I only hear your voice echoing in the room and not.
Yeah, and right. Unfortunately, the connection box is not working. The mixer in the back is not working. Sadly. So you're right to say it. But if you project well, this microphone will pick you up and we'll have you for the recording, and the room will appreciate you.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
So project like you are doing Shakespeare. Something like that. Sorry.
So, from the top? Yes. So just to make it clear that in fact, everything that I'm talking about in this talk is on the up and up, including how I won this iPad mini. Yes. Yes, let me just tell you the story of the one thing that I did that was slightly bending the rules, which was at my first conference, Cloud Expo. There was a booth there that had the stick your hand into a jar of keys, pull out a key, try to unlock the treasure chest, win a little RC helicopter. And so I tried this, and obviously the first day, nothing really happened. I was like, I've got a set of lockpicks at home. I could probably try them on this. The second day, I forgot, but I was like, I'm bringing the lockpicks this time. I swear. The third day, I brought the lockpicks, and I had no idea how to use them. But as it turns out, I was having a conversation with this other girl, and the person working the booth had sort of lost interest in watching me try to use the lockpicks and failing at it. So I eventually said to her, I don't know what I'm doing with this, but I still know how this game works, and I ended up pulling the correct key out of the jar of keys, and everything else, just simple being polite and social engineering. So I'm Rachel. I'm a recent graduate from Georgia Tech with a master's degree. I'm a freelance interface designer, and I also draw the science fiction comic Last Resort. You may have seen some of the cards floating around in the chill-out area. And so I've been attending conferences in the San Francisco Bay Area over the past year to try and fix that freelance part. I haven't, but I picked up a lot of interesting things along the way. I ended up getting into my first conference with a promo code from a friend for what they called their VIP Gold Pass. And yeah, I should probably explain what I'm doing here, why we're even talking about swag hoarding, and I consider swag hoarding to be a form of social engineering. Basically, it's a social engineering between dumb marketers with too much money and they're not using it properly. They're making swag that is entirely too easy to turn into other things that have nothing to do with the company and often don't even contain their logo. They're rewarding people who are punctual, not necessarily useful to them, with a lot of the different contests. And they're all trying to one-up each other, which just leads to a lot of money wasted in a lot of different ways. And I can't even call it a security leak. It's more like holding out your hand to catch rainwater. You're going to get something. So, as I was talking with my first Conference Cloud Expo, I wasn't really thinking too much about this. I was, actually there to network. So I got a bunch of business cards made. I went to the conference. I was there, listen, learn, meet people, hopefully do something useful. And I ended up spending a lot of time on the expo floor, mostly because every now and then I would look at some of the panels, and I went to a few of the panels, but for the most part, I seem to find the expo floor more interesting, in part because, as I mentioned, I do the comic. I go to comic conventions all the time, so seeing how other companies do marketing is interesting to me. And I picked up a few things, like this was someone's attempt at a temporary tattoo. It didn't work all that well. And this was some of the swag. I ended up getting the USB charger from one company, and this is a cable that can change between the Android and the iPhone ports. So I ended up using that as an emergency charger during the show while I was sitting in on some panels. And after the expo floor closed, I would still be hanging around the area, so I was trying to find some of the different after parties in the conference center and in the nearby hotel, and I was searching on the conference's hashtag on Twitter to try and figure out stuff. So I was poking around, I was following different companies, I was, trying to gather information, mostly to score free booze more than anything else. And this happened. And I didn't even believe that it happened, but it happened. I also ended up winning a hoodie after the show as well, and ended up giving it to my dad because it was literally swam on me like a sleeping bag. And I found it ridiculous. I didn't, like I said, I didn't even believe that I had won the iPad until it actually was mailed and arrived at my doorstep. Hey, you want a free iPad? Talk to us on Twitter. It's like, really? It almost seemed like a phishing attempt. And in the meantime, I still had everyone else's stuff that were from companies that I had no idea what I was doing with, no idea, like, they weren't interested in necessarily hiring me, or at least not immediately. They weren't necessarily companies that I could talk to with the folks that I was currently contracting for, and I just had to figure out something to do with them. Because I did get a lot of interesting stuff, but it was also like, I don't really care about XYZ company and seeing their logo all the time, which is where the duct tape rule came in. This was a very nice Brookstone clock that had branding on it, and it was like, I like the clock, I don't like this company. So I just took a piece of masking tape, covered that thing right up, and, if I can do this with your swag, then it's obviously not very good swag. You can honestly imagine just carrying a flat pack of duct tape with you to a show and just being able to instantly cover up stuff on the spot. And you've probably seen this in a lot of different places. You've seen, like the USB charger that I showed you before. I covered that up. The clock, obviously, little booklets, notebooks, books that you might get from certain people that cover those up as well. And as an attendee, this is great. You get free stuff, and you don't even have to look at a company's logo or be reminded every time you use it. But if you're a company, you probably spent a lot of money on that swag. And, that's money you could have spent on something else that would probably be a lot more useful for your bottom line. It might get other people to come to your booth at the show, but it's not doing you that much good. But I chalked this up to I had a good time, I figured out some interesting stuff, I got some nice things for free. And then 3 months later, this happens, and one of the companies that I was talking to at the previous show had put me onto their mailing list, which I probably should have unsubscribed from. I unsubscribed from several, But this one was like, hey, here's a free pass to RSA conference. Would you like it? I said, yes. And this time, I knew what I was doing. I was figuring, okay, little conference, I did pretty well. Very obviously big conference, I should do great. And I was right. So yeah, this is a short list. $200 general purpose gift cards, $20 in Starbucks gift cards, 11 t-shirts, only one of which was a woman's size. USB battery charger, Connect 4, 2 decks of cards, one actually malware-themed, one not so much. Some light-up glasses, wine tubs, a pebble. And I want to clarify, this is not a list of the stuff that I won at the RSA conference. This was Tuesday! Tuesday! I paid $20 for the train ride up and back, and I came back with all that. To put this into perspective, this is how I usually look when I'm selling my comic books at conventions. I could bust my butt for a whole weekend, and I probably wouldn't gross as much as I profited at RSA from just wandering around looking interesting. And this was mind-blowing. I don't know how many of these people actually realize what they're sitting on. I mean, granted, other people probably pay a lot to go to these shows. They're paying to learn, they're paying to network, they're paying to do this, that, and the other. And, I was there to learn and do all those things as well. But this was a heck of a day job. And in doing this, I also picked up on this phrase as being super important. Must be present to win. It's a very simple phrase. It's very obvious why they do it. They have the stuff on site because obviously they're showing it off as a prize at the show. And they're trying to get things taken care of. They don't want to ship it back. They just want to deal with it right then. But you'd be surprised how few people are actually present to win. When I won the Pebble, I was one of 4 people. There was a drawing later that conference for an iPad mini. That was 1 in 6. I mean, who needs Vegas? They even had magicians there, for goodness sake, including this guy on a straitjacket. And so, at this point I realized I had stumbled onto something that was... It blew whatever sense of comprehension I had, honestly. It was very strange to be there and realizing just how much is there and how much can just be skimmed off the top of what's going on here. And this is great, but what does this have to do with what we have with this with our concept of hacking and why it? Usually you think hacking, there's a reason why these flaws exist, there's a way to fix them, and how to take care of that. And, this is a flaw with how companies market and how they advertise. And, there's all of this money going into these trade shows that there's very little idea what's going on here. Like I said, I managed to get about $1,000 worth of stuff, and all I had to do was show up and be polite and talk to people. And if there's 6,000 attendees at each of these shows, and they're doing anything near the same thing, not to mention all of these companies that are spending so much to be there, to have a table, to give out this stuff, not to mention whatever they're spending after the show talking to some of these people and trying to follow up on leads, that's a lot of money that is just, it's not being tracked very well. It's probably being written off as, the marketing budget per se, and it's just as valuable as any other kind of security leak, even more so because they're not even thinking about it. And, they're doing it because they don't want to be forgotten. The company that doesn't do enough at a trade show is not going to get any any clients afterwards, which is why they spend as much as they do in the first place. And, you know, honestly, we understand this. This is a problem. They want to get the people that they want to talk to, and if a little bit goes by the wayside, they're not going to worrying too much about that. But there's a better way. And, you know, some of this is, there's certain types of swag that I can't find any use for whatsoever. Pens have to stop. USB drives that are tiny need to stop. I put the cutoff here at 4 gigabytes because I figure 4 gigabytes you can turn that into a bootable Linux distro and be happy with it. So, some better than others, but even dealing with that, gimmick swag that doesn't even deal in the logo of the company rather than something else, that's just wasted stuff. And if you've literally gone to the toy store and just slapped a sticker on top of the packaging, as soon as the monkey peels the banana, they don't care what's on the banana peel. And, you know, and those Starbucks cards I mentioned, at least in the state of California, which is where most of these trade shows took place, if it's $10 or less, you can go up to any Starbucks store and just ask for cash. That is free money. And if you are one of these trade shows that is giving people a gift card just for watching a video or sitting in on a pitch, imagine giving each one of those people a $5 bill. You are literally saying that you have to bribe people to pay attention to you. And the good news is, there's swag that we can make that you can't use the duct tape rule on. You're probably familiar with a lot of it because a lot of it is startup type swag. Some of these light up toys that, you know, they give at the party events or for some of the after party events, obviously you can't put duct tape on that, or it's not going to glow so much. This one was actually an ice pack, which comes in quite handy for after the party. This was a little magnet. For some reason, these companies like clouds a lot. And, you know, obviously, it's sort of small. You can't really do too much with it. You could technically cover it up, but that would probably ruin the look of it because it is a nice magnet, and obviously it's got that little hook on it that you can't really put the duct tape over. Stress balls. Yeah, I know, this kind of falls into gimmicky, but at the same time, it's one of the few toys you can have sitting on your desk. Now, give them to the college students. They love them for Humans vs. Zombies. Plushies, because obviously the fabric, you can't put duct tape on fabric. There's good plushies and bad plushies. The little blue fellow is from NetSuite. I think his name is Stanley. And obviously, you know, custom plushie, custom detail, compared to the plush tiger with the little logo on a bandana that you could easily remove, and suddenly you have a tiger with no branding. Stickers are always great. These are some of my stickers, by the way, because obviously you can't put duct tape on top of stickers. You just have a duct tape sticker. Same thing goes with little lapel buttons. Those are also kind of defeating the purpose to put tape on those as well. And T-shirts are great, but there's a lot of things about T-shirts. Obviously, you noticed when she was throwing out T-shirts earlier, sizing is important. Having women's sizes is important. Larger sizes are important. Just because, obviously, these people attend conferences, too. If the color of your T-shirt matters, obviously, a colored T-shirt is better than a black T-shirt because you can actually have some kind of branding going on with that, versus a white T-shirt, which you may as well say, we are too cheap, but we know we need a T-shirt, here, have one. And if you actually provide people with a selection of colors and designs, then it gives them a certain sense of ownership over what they take, and they might decide that they don't like any of them. And that's fine, too. At least you've already made that selection process and made it more likely that they will keep the T-shirt. And for God's sake, make it a T-shirt I can wear in public. This was given to me at the RSA conference, and I pointed this out to them. Like, but it's funny! No. You know what's funny? This is what I turned the t-shirt into. More accurately, I turned it into t-shirt yarn, which is very simple, doesn't require any sewing. You're literally taking the t-shirt and cutting in a spiral around the barrel of the t-shirt on your body, and you can use it to make all kinds of things. Like this was made out of t-shirt yarn. This scarf is made out of t-shirt yarn and doesn't even require any sewing or crocheting or anything else. I'd like that back, by the way, but feel free to take a look at it and marvel at how simple the construction is. I'll be glad to explain how to make those later, but hey, it's comfortable. And I mean, there are even folks like this lady who will take your t-shirt and obliterate the logo if you really like the t-shirt but you just don't like the company. So, a bad t-shirt is how this lady stays in business. And if there's any kind of personalization to the swag, it works out well. This was actually done by a caricature artist at the RSA conference, on the last day of the show. I don't remember this company, but I'm still holding on to it because obviously I'm not going to throw out a nice drawing. You know, it works. It works. Or here's a concept: give out a free demo version of your product as a swag. Like this company, Crash Plan, deals in enterprise backup, but they also have a consumer model, and they're giving out a year's supply of their consumer stuff afterwards. That works quite well. And if you can't come up with a better idea, give them booze. Just make sure we can pronounce the company's name so we know where to send people. Yes. And, any questions? Or? Yes.
Rachel, I think this is a phenomenal product, but I want to ask you, it seems like the more crap that you get, I think it all snowballs. Now, do you have any repercussions of like getting all this stuff? I mean, have you been getting more spam and all that stuff? I don't know.
There was a bit of that. A lot of these companies do tend to assume that, hey, this person came by our booth, that means it's okay to put them on our mailing list and spam them. Which means you tend to play a little bit of unsubscribe tag afterwards. It's an unfortunate side effect.
We have to stop, unfortunately. You did a great job.